Welcome to The Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia. And we have a special guest today, Catherine Blanchard.
Hi.
So, funny story. I hung out with Kat's sister the other day.
Oh, yeah?
The whole time she kept referring to Catherine. And I would be like, Kat.
Oh.
She'd be like, Catherine. I'd be like, Kat. She's
Yeah.
like, Catherine. I was like, dang, maybe I should start calling her Catherine all the time.
What do you prefer?
Kat. It's just anybody who knew me before I was 13 still calls me Catherine.
Okay.
But it was hysterical.
So Steve and Donna call me Catherine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like I should flip-flop, though.
You can.
I felt compelled.
I like my name.
Your sister, compelled me to do it, though. Because she said it so often. She's like, Catherine.
I respond to it.
Or she wouldn't even call you by name. She'd just be like, yeah, my sister.
Yeah.
So we call each other sister.
Oh, okay. That makes more context.
In my phone, they are sister 1 and sister 2.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Those funny family nicknames.
Yeah.
There are some funny ones, like for grandparents and stuff, too.
Oh, yes.
What do you call your grandparents?
Oh. I have a Mimi.
I
have a Meemaw. I have a Granny. She doesn't like that one.
What's your mom called?
Yeah. I don't even know where that came from. That's been the past 30 years. And Lovey is what Kyla.
There it is.
Lovey, and then Kyla couldn't say Lovey, so she calls her Wawa.
Wawa.
And so,
that was the other one.
And so it's to this day is Wawa. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's hysterical.
Do y'all have any names? Any grandparents? Family?
So we had, Bexley has 2 nanas.
Okay.
But we've got a Peepaw and a Peepaw and Nana, a Pop, a Banana. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
There's so
many different ones.
But she's blessed because she has so many.
Huh.
It's a good problem to have.
A Mamie or a Mammy or a Marduk. I don't know.
These kids I used to take care of, they called their grandmother More, and I guess it's grandmother in another language.
I'm going to tell Bexley
More.
I'm going to just start calling them new names.
Yeah.
Because it'll be who we talk about.
Yeah.
Because we don't spend a lot of time with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to call them More.
I had a dream a couple nights ago that I inherited my great-grandmother's house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Speaking of grandparents. It was weird. Real fast. Real quick. She lived in Emerald Bay. And I inherited her house, and I was walking through it. I think my grandmother was touring me through the house, and I remember it from when I was a kid. And so I'm going through each room, and she's dead. Usually that kind of stuff weirds me out. And I'm like, oh, she died in this room. I'm not sleeping here. That kind of thing. But in the dream, that was gone completely. Anyways.
How cool.
Cool little dream, yeah.
Let's do some questions.
Okay.
Actually, hold on. I really want to hit on that dream.
Okay.
Yo, I and Laurel, we both had a dream about getting houses
the
same night. Yeah.
Wow.
Her and I also, but then somebody just started depositing large sums of money into my account, which I felt like was the inheritance.
Yeah.
Things that you're inheriting. Anyways.
Wow.
What'd you get, Kat? Let's start questions.
Yeah.
In my dreams or from his dream?
What'd you get from your dream?
I haven't had one in a little while. I think I've just been trying to catch up on sleep. I haven't dreamed in a while. I don't remember what my last dream was. The last one I remember was a dream I had that was about a house, but it was like this giant mansion that I went into with this grandfather and his grandson. And I think my daughter was with me. And we went into this house, and it was like this giant mansion, but it was totally trashed. It was kind of like a mansion from The Godfather or something like that. Kind of like some gangsters had been living there. So it was totally trashed. But we walked in, and we were going through different rooms. And I went into a room, and there was a baby. And so I picked up this baby, and I told somebody to go get me specifically size 2-3 diapers. And I ended up taking the baby into the kitchen sink and washing it and looking out the window. And it was this beautiful big pasture or something like that. And I don't remember what happened after that. That was the last one I remember. Big mansion, totally trash, found a baby in it. Needed some divers.
Let's talk about that dream.
Yeah.
I'm in on this.
Wow.
Okay, so when you have a dream like that, can we go practical?
Yeah.
What do you do when you have a dream like that? How do you normally break that down?
Well, first of all, I've gotten in the habit of waking up and recording. Like I do voice memos and record it because I'll forget it by the morning time. Which they sound pretty funny because I'm always like falling asleep as I'm
just groggy,
recollecting them. But I don't know. With dreams, for me, I think they usually feel so big. I'll usually bring them to the Lord and ask. And if I don't get anything really quickly, sometimes I'll just kind of let them go and something will come up later that I'll be like, oh, that's what this was. I was actually remembering that dream the other day and I don't remember what brought it up, but I was like, maybe that's what the 2-3 means. I think it was when I was listening to your podcast.
Oh.
Something came up and I was like, maybe that's like the year. No, I was listening to Daniel's message because he said he found that because he was talking about the $12 bill. The church started in 2012. So then that made me think of the 23 in my dream.
And something that is going to be birthed. Like a newborn baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I do with my dreams. I used to have them all the time. So it was kind of like they were just cool experiences that I had with the Lord. I can usually tell when they're from Him or if they're just kind of a pizza dream. They feel different. And so I usually write them down or record them and come back to them later. Sometimes I send them to you. Marlene, tell me what this means.
It's cool. I like the voice recording idea. I've never even thought of that. That's cool. Opposed to writing them down and right when you wake up too, so it's fresh.
It takes a little while to get in the habit of doing that.
Yeah.
When you're half awake.
Yeah. It'd be fun to listen back to it.
It is.
Cats are hysterical though.
Because I start falling asleep towards the end.
She sent me some.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm just going to send it to you. And it's always like, I think there was a squirrel. No, it's funny.
That's cool. You're still kind of in it too, probably. There's in and out of that kind of sleep state. That's cool.
Or I start dreaming again.
Yeah, while you're talking.
That's actually something that was always something I did. I dream really quickly when I fall asleep. So like a joke that me and my best friend used to have growing up was when I'd spend the night at her house, she'd go to like wash her face and brush her teeth and stuff, and I'd already be asleep by the time she got back, and she would wake me up, and I would have already had a dream and tell her all about it. So,
that's funny.
Yeah,
you're quick draw on them dreams.
I guess so.
James, how would you? I want to kind of dive into this. How would you practically break down her dream? Like if you were going to interpret that or help her kind of navigate that, is there anything, like how would you approach helping somebody learn to facilitate their dream like that?
Yeah, well, I would obviously write it down or speak into it. And then, I mean, usually he speaks to your heart. So I would kind of ponder on like, well, what is he saying here to my heart? Or what is it? Or I would even almost analyze my day or expect something to happen, basically make space for that dream and be intentional with it. Like have it in there. Like he's telling me something and it's going to apply to my life at some point, whether it's something that will happen or something I'm in. But yeah, the new birth thing too, rescuing it from a trashed house. I don't know, and how it makes you feel, and the core of like what he's saying in it. And then I would just be intentional because I don't know, it could be something that will happen, it could be something that is happening, or so yeah.
Like have a wide eye view of it.
Yeah, and just understand that it has to do with some in your sphere at some point, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if it is something that's on your heart, when the dreams like that happen, it's almost like you know what it means or you know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So.
I think for me, like, so if I would have heard that dream, right, I would ask the Lord, like, look in context of what season you're in your life. Like, what is actually happening in your world at this moment? I think for you, like the season of family has been huge. And also differentiating the lineage of Adam versus your true lineage.
Yeah.
You know, and so you had one lineage that was there, a grandfather and a grandson, but then you had your lineage there, which was you and your daughter. And like the separation of going into something that was trashed, or it had the appearance of trash, and you stepped into this space, and what you actually came out of it was with something new.
You know, that's really interesting. The generational thing is what stuck out to me the most about that dream. And the family lines that were very obviously there. But that happened in a season right before the Lord started doing some really amazing things in my family, with my parents and my sisters and myself. And so kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Him showing you like this thing is being separated. Like, and maybe it's the 2 to 3 diapers could be the year 2023 where all these things will finally be sealed or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, just know it's in the infant state.
Yeah.
And it's okay being in the infant state, but it's going to grow because you're cleaning it off. You're actually taking care of it. You're cultivating this thing.
Yeah.
That's definitely what's been happening.
Yeah.
So,
because you've had to cultivate it. You've had to be the one that's like knee deep in things with your fam.
Well, it's kind of like that idea of pioneering. I think you and I have talked about that a little bit before, that like those generational things, that bloodline of Adam, it's like it stops with me. Those generational curses, they're done. And so then going a new way from what generations before me have gone, it's pioneering. You're going on new ground. You're making a way for generations to come after you.
And it's messy.
It's, what were we saying the other day? What's the word that we use? I don't know if I use the word trudging. Trudging comes to mind.
It feels like that.
Going through, almost like you're walking through the mud or something.
Yeah, some heavy mud.
Yeah.
Swamp.
It makes me think of, man, I hope we copyright this soon, but when Laurel sang this tag of like, he's healing our family trees, there's wholeness for generations.
Yeah.
And before.
Yeah.
It's like when you step in and choose to take the authority that God gave you for your own family line, it does reversals. It's not only like for your kids, it's the other way.
It's the other way. You can even redeem people that are dead. You can even redeem their lives to a point too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you are, in a sense, if you do break off those curses, that alone redeems that line.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, it goes both ways.
Because when you redeem something, you've stepped into eternity because you've stepped into the Lord himself. And your family line is actually outside of time and space.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in this linear pattern that we think we're in. It makes me think of that scripture that Tyler brought on group on Wednesday, the Psalm 22. I got to read this because it's been sitting with me. It's Psalm 22, 30 and 31. And it says, this is talking about the Lord. His spiritual seed shall serve him. Future generations will hear from us about the wonders of the victorious Lord. His generations yet to be born will glorify him, and they will all declare it is finished.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's like we get to be, if we so choose to align, we get to be the people that declare it is finished.
Yeah.
There's no more family curses. There's no more family. What word am I looking for? Bondage.
Yeah, curse.
Yeah. But you know how family traits. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. There's no family traits anymore. The only trait you carry is Yahweh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and all you have to do is actually release it.
My cousin and I have talked a lot about that, and now my sister and I are talking about that, just about how we've gone over a lot of our family history, and some stuff has come to light recently that's been in our family history, and we're like, no more. That stops here, and just kind of really standing in that and saying it ends now.
I love that.
Oh yeah.
I think there's like, maybe this is just me and how my practical brain works, but I think like you can chant all day long. Like, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. And it's almost like denial.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of get into a religious mind that's like, oh, I'm standing in faith. I'm standing in faith. But I think there's like a marrying of the practical of like, because I refuse to let this thing hold me, I will actually partner in the practical. I will actually start to eat healthy. I will start to move my body. You know, just the like you marry those things because you do believe it.
Yeah.
You know, versus just standing and praying and chanting and
you
know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the part of the family traits that just saying the Lord's got us, and then living your life unhealthy and the way you want to. That's part of the
without the understanding, it's like it just becomes a mantra again. It's just something you speak without any substance of like believing it or understanding it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, Kat, tell us a little bit about you.
What do you want to know about me? My name is Catherine.
Sorry, Catherine. Catherine. No, I want to know your story. I want to know, share with the listeners, like, when was the first time that you have this awareness that God is actually with you?
So that one's kind of hard for me because I was born on the mission field. My parents were missionaries. I was born in Micronesia in the South Pacific. My sister was born in Belize, Central America. And I grew up hearing stories about the miraculous, about demons being cast out, people being healed, like whole entire villages coming to know the Lord, like really crazy stuff. Well, awesome stuff. So I don't think that I ever didn't think God was with me. But I think when he became real to me was definitely when I started coming to Hoff. I mean, there were moments before that, but sorry, I'm knocking over the table. I was trying to move my
She was
chair.
trying to throw the table.
Yeah.
There were moments before that, but I think in my head it was always, he's real for everyone else, but not for me. Like, I've done something wrong or something's not right, because I never really thought that it was like a personal, I didn't feel like I was experiencing anything that God was with me, kind of a thing. But when
how in your mind, how would you have defined that as God being with you?
I think it was more like an idea that God was with me. I was told my whole life God was with me. I prayed. I knew that God was with other people, but I don't think I had really experienced God very much. I had a few moments. There was one point when in my early 20s when I felt like God audibly told me something to do, and I was like, "What was that?" But then it was like, then there was nothing else after that. And so you kind of start to doubt when you don't see anything else happening. And I think really for me, I had this mindset that I had to be something and do something in order for God to stay with me. And so I just always thought, I keep messing up. I keep doing other things. So
why would he?
He's not going to stay around. Maybe he was here for a little while, but then he left again, and he's waiting for me to get my act together before he'll talk to me again, kind of a thing. And so it wasn't until way later, I want to say it was when I first started coming to Hoff, which I think was 2015, that I'm going to use the word, I was challenged to really kind of start letting go of all of my perceptions and kind of my religious grid of who God was and who I was. And so I don't know that there was an exact moment that I really felt like God was with me, but it was kind of just in the practical day-to-day of that still small voice becoming louder, and me becoming more sensitive to it, and becoming confident that I could hear it, and becoming confident that he loved me and valued me didn't matter what I did. He didn't ever leave me, kind of a thing.
And so that happened through releasing those grids.
Yes.
And like kind of yielding, like, Yeah, all that stuff.
Yes. And releasing those grids was not a quick and didn't happen overnight. It definitely took time because it felt contradictory to everything that I knew for my whole life.
Yeah. So it's almost kind of a nice scary thing to like let go of that. But I guess you would have to make those decisions as they came up, right?
Yeah. It was just it was that whole taking thoughts captive and aligning your mind to the mind of Christ kind of a thing. Like, even though I don't feel this way, this is what God says is true. So this is what I'm going to believe. And this is what I'm going to act on because I believe it.
That's humility, though, to be able to let go of things, even things about him, you know?
Yeah.
In the pursuit of him. Yeah, that's cool.
And I think a huge part of that for me, for myself, was really, and Dan Moeller helped me a lot with this. Good old Dan.
Good old Dan.
Just with believing that God loves me and values me no matter what.
Yeah.
And realizing that even those things that I did that were mess ups or whatever, like those weren't even on the table. Like he didn't want to address them with me. He didn't want to sift through them. He just wanted to love me. And I think being able to let go of those things also, because to me before, I think it was an exchange. It was a matter of exchanging, like, okay, if you fix all this stuff, then I can really love you and really work with you and do things with you. And that, a transactional relationship. And so realizing that, like, it's not even on the table, it's not even part of it. That's really the mindset that had to change, I think.
Yeah, like he actually just wants to be with you because of who you are. Because of he thought about every single detail in your entire person.
Yeah.
And brought it into existence.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. And I love that you had to have the journey of unraveling. You know, like there's so much, you hear those phrases like the journey, like it's not about the destination, it's all about the journey.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I think that the religious mind focuses so much on the destination of like when I get there, when this happens. But the freedom, the spirit of the Lord is in the moment and it's in the unraveling. It's in the day to day of like, just take every thought captive. There's no pressure here. Like, just remember, come back to me. Come back. You don't have to perform. I'm here. You don't have to do a thing. Like, you don't have to be away.
Yeah.
It's not like as we change ourselves, we get to behold more of the Lord. It's like as we behold the Lord, then things begin to change.
Yeah, it's like that be still and know. Like, just be still, like right now.
Yeah.
I think that actually really changed. I know I said when I came to Hoff, but I think it started when I had my daughter. She's 12. So that was a little while before I started coming to Hoff. But that was the first time that I was like, oh, there's not a dang thing she could do to make me not love her or not be there for her. Nothing in the world.
Yeah.
I think that was when it first started, but it was like little small things. But with the journey thing, I think you're right. Another thing I used to always think is like, we're just trying to get to heaven kind of thing. Like heaven was the destination. And then through my process, through my journey, learning that like we can bring heaven to earth now. And like everything is in the now. God isn't he's a present God.
Yeah.
He's doing things now. He wants to bring freedom and have the kingdom of heaven on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
And I think learning that changed my perspective of everything that I did.
That's like I've been sitting with the phrase Emmanuel. It is God with us. And like really what that means. You know, everybody says it every Christmas.
Yeah.
But it's like, he is always with us. He is with us in this room. He is with us in our biggest stressors. He's in the most intense time. He's in the quiet time. He's in the
good times.
He's definitely in the good times. I think we miss that. Like we miss him in the goodness.
Yeah.
But
that whole thing, I'm sorry, I texted Jake to ask him what his scripture was Wednesday night.
Ephesians 5. I meant Galatians 5.
Galatians 5, yeah. And the Passion Translation, I never read it that way. But it kind of falls in line with that a little bit. It says, if you want to be made right with God by fulfilling the obligations of the law, you have cut off more than your flesh. You have cut yourselves off from Christ and have fallen away from the revelation of grace. But this part, but we have the true hope that comes from being made right with God.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the birthplace of true hope, is like, oh, he's good. We're good. We're covered. And that just unlocks
so much.
Everything. Anyways, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't.
No.
I had to remember that because that stuck with me too. But
it really is kind of the beginning is believing that you're right with God, because that religious grid tells you that you're not and you never will be.
Yeah.
Only if you sacrifice enough.
Yeah.
And only
I love
if you
that.
do enough.
That's what it looks like to prioritize him, is to sacrifice and to be like, I don't know. Like I don't know what's true. Let him unravel it,
Yeah.
And that's intimate too, because it's between you and him. It's like you'll either pull through or you won't, really, and he always does.
And it doesn't take work.
Yeah, right.
You can just relax.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He does it all. I think a friend of mine used to tell me, like, just let go. And this was in the midst of me, like, the beginning of getting rid of my religious grids. I'm like, what the crap does it mean to let go?
Yeah.
But it really is just kind of resting.
Mm-hmm.
And trusting that the Lord will deal with stuff. You don't have to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
I've told people that too before. Like, yeah, you just have to let go. And they're like, how do you do that? It is a thing. It is something you have to learn or relearn or something. I think it's part of the phrase born again. Because you have to revert back to being like a child and yielding. Like as a mother or father, like your child depends on you,
Well, if you think about what does a kid do, right? If you set him, I think of this like today, right? Bexley is really into using her hands these days. And she shoved Elwyn, like from the head, shoved her down. Anyway, so I took her out of the room and she wouldn't look at me because I was like, Bexley, we don't use our hands to push like that. Like we've got to be kind. Like our hands, like we're very gentle with our hands. And she wouldn't look at me and she wouldn't look at me and she wouldn't look at me. And I said, Bexley, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said, I'm not mad at you, she locked eyes with me and she made contact with me.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm sorry, Mommy. And then she let it go. Yeah. Then we were back. Like everything was just clicked right back in. And I think that's what it is to be a kid, like to enter the kingdom like a child.
Yeah.
She let it go. Once she acknowledged or realized, hey, Mommy's not mad at me.
Yeah.
Just like if we would realize God's not mad at us.
Yeah.
Like we can just say like, my bad.
Yes.
I misstepped, my bad. And then we're back on track. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's just a step. Like we just took one step off the path.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge it and get back on the path.
Yes.
I think part of the letting go for me was letting go of looking back and looking like navel gazing and looking back at all the things that I needed to fix and like realizing like that's part of God being a present God. And I told you this, I think the other day, like God meets you where you're at for the purpose of moving forward with him. Yeah. He doesn't ever look back and bring stuff up. He might bring up some stuff to like deal with it, but that's on him. He's never pointing out all the things that you've done.
And even if he does bring it up, it's for the purpose of healing.
Yeah.
For forward progress.
Yeah.
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 But it's that navel gazing, that looking at all the things, getting stuck in that cycle. I used to say that like, I think that's part of my rewiring of my brain, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Was recognizing when I was analyzing the things that I've done and just being like, okay, Lord, I'm going to let this go. Because even stopping to look at that is kind of like what I used to say, like Satan was winning because he was distracting me from doing being with the Lord and moving forward. That in itself is a distraction from forward progress. It doesn't produce any good fruit.
You know, I had a dream last night. There was multiple parts to this, but the little snippet of what you just said reminded me of it. But Bexley had what I thought she was okay because she was given a life vest. Well, the life vest actually caused her to sink to the bottom of the pool. And I had to take the life vest off of her to bring her up. And I thought she had been drowning and like all these things. And I realized like some of the things that you think are preserving your life, they're actually drowning you.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, look at the things. If you're always in review, if you're always analyzing your life, it may seem like you're trying to like give yourself life, but really what you're doing is you're drowning.
Yeah.
You're actually staying in that cyclical space that you can't move forward in.
Yeah.
Has Bexley ever tried to walk forward while looking behind her? Because my daughter did that a lot when she was that age.
Did she fall down a lot?
Oh, yeah. She had a lot of busted lips. That's what that reminded me of. She would just get distracted by anything and everything. So she would be in forward motion, but looking behind her and end up just kind of face planting a few times. That poor kid. But that's what that reminded me of. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, I can't look back.
No.
Well, it's like the Sodom and Gomorrah thing, too, like turning into a salt. Was it salt? Yeah.
A pillar of salt.
Which that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of that scripture, too, in Philippians 3.
The plow?
No. I was reading this to Kat the other day, and then I had a dream about it. But, because, it's so prevalent. But it says...
where is it?
It's Philippians 3, 13, 14, and 15. It says, "Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Jesus Christ." This thing got me, man. It says, "Therefore, let us, as many as are mature, have this mind. And if anything of you think otherwise, God will reveal even this to you." And it's like, the mature mind forgets what's behind you and it goes forward.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have that mind yet, God will reveal it to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even have to worry, am I good? He'll come knock on your door for you to stop looking backwards and go forward.
And just ask him for it and then rest. Just drop it. Yeah.
Well, that's part of that losing sin consciousness. We're not supposed to even, like I said, it's not even on the table. We're not even supposed to be conscious of the things that we're like those things that we're reviewing about ourselves. Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? Like all that, like
judging ourselves.
That's not even part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me of that scripture. Man, it's in Hebrews 10:2. It says, "For the worshipers, once purified, would have had no more consciousness of sins." And that's talking about like the yearly sacrifice. And it says, "But those sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins every year."
Yeah.
Well, Jesus is the high priest, and he took hold of that, meaning we should actually have no more consciousness of your sin.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be reviewing your life of like, where did I sin? How did I misstep? What did that?
He's the eternal atonement for it.
Yeah.
Like it's done. Like it's finished. It's not even the same game anymore.
No.
Yeah. Like you've stepped through to the other side.
Yeah.
Where being a sinner or constantly evaluating your actions is not Christianity. No. It can't be, because he paid for it all. Yeah. And he will reveal everything to you. You know, so you just keep moving forward.
And practically, for me anyway, practically it was like on a day-to-day basis of just initially becoming aware of when I was doing that and then choosing to like lay it aside and say, I'm going to trust you instead. And sometimes asking the Lord for, what's your truth in this moment? Yeah. What do you say in this moment?
It's inviting him into the moment instead of you doing the judging, you doing the evaluating, you doing the
work.
The work.
Yeah.
He actually did the work. So why don't you like actually ask him? Yeah. Invite him in, even though he's with you. Yeah. I think it's calling it to our mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you invite the Lord in, it's like what you're actually doing is saying, "Hey, I'm remembering right now." Yeah. Yeah. My bad.
Well, you're taking that thought captive. You become aware of it. You take it captive, and then you invite him into the space to replace it. Yeah. That's the rewiring.
It's so good. And it's simple.
Yeah. I always imagine the disciples and Paul and everybody when it's like spreading the gospel, them going into these towns and stuff, like them starting off with that, like, hey, death is dead, sin is done away with. Like you can believe that. You can safely and accurately, like that's a real thing. Like it's done.
Yeah.
So you can drop it all, like we're free basically. And because that is the good news. That is more than too good to be true, really.
Yeah.
When you think about it. I just always see them going in like, hey, it's done. Death is dead. Sin is dead. It's gone. The consciousness of it.
All the things that you used to have to do. You used to have to make these yearly trips. You used to have to pack up your whole family and relocate and do these sacrifices. And
what's so beautiful about it too,
you ain't got to do it,
is that he didn't snap his fingers and do it. He did it like by the book. He did it and painted the whole picture, and he like played by the rules and did it. And he didn't have to even do that, but he did.
Yeah.
The sacrifice thing, and he just covered every little thing just to make it crystal clear, like done.
And not chaotic.
Yeah. No, it's just a beautiful.
I love that you just said that, because I think that is a stark contrast, that God is not chaotic.
Yeah.
Like not only is he not the author of confusion, he's not the author of chaos.
No.
I think he will press up against our religious structure, thinking that we have to keep everything confined, because he's wildly passionate, wildly zealous, but he will not force you into utter chaos.
Right.
Yeah. No, he won't.
So, Kat, I've got a question for you.
Yes. I hope I have an answer.
Good. So with us talking about all this, what would you say? What about the Lord stirs your heart the most?
I'm trying to think of how to put it concisely into words. That he loves all people, that he can give us that same perception of people. And I know that that's really small sounding, but I don't know how to put it into bigger words. But essentially, like, I will explain it. For me, a lot of the stuff I worked through with the Lord was a lot of shame for choices I've made in my life, like deep, big shame. And what I came out of that with is really believing that people are good and that people really are created in the image of God.
Yeah.
And as I learned what the image of God was, they became more and more important to me and precious to me and valuable to me. And so God's heart to unlock every single person and to make known to them that they are loved, like that, I think is what, because of my own experience, that is what is so special to me about the Lord's heart. And there's so many other things, but that's what really resonates with me, is that he wants to talk to every single person and just wants them to know how loved they are, how valuable they are. I think that's a big one for me. And so that's why I've really enjoyed getting into the prophetic and being on prophetic teams and stuff, is being able to do the same thing for others that happened for me, is being able to take the words of the Lord and release them to people and really see it unlock people.
Yeah, where it has like deep impact, where you can feel like, they just experienced their value.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I feel like some of prophetic ministry is they get to experience their value from the Lord.
Yeah. I think especially with like the words of knowledge and the prophetic, it's like people suddenly are like, I'm seen. He really is there. It's that thing of God with you. I think a lot more people doubt that than maybe we're aware of. I mean, maybe not, but when you get prophetic words that are specific to you, like words of knowledge, it's like, oh, he is with me. He sees me. He loves me.
Yeah.
And I think that is huge for people.
I like what you said, and I don't think I've ever heard it said before ever, but him imparting his heart to you to where you can see people for how good they are. It's like people are inherently good.
Yes.
Which is so contrary to what
we're told.
We're told completely.
I believe everybody's
and
good.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And I do too. But that's him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you never hear. Like people are inherently good. When it boils down to it, when the chips are down, people are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, he created us that way.
I think anytime people act outside of their intended created purpose, it's because of brokenness or because they don't believe that God is good. And it's usually because of a lack of value for themselves.
Yeah.
They don't think that they are valuable.
Yeah.
And that manifests in different ways, and that can get bigger, and it usually starts out really small and can get bigger and bigger the longer that it goes on.
Yeah.
But ultimately the root is, it's fear, but the root is just not believing that they're loved and valued.
Right.
Inherently, no matter what they do.
I think that looks like, though, because they've allowed experience to shape their views. Like, I'm just going to, it's hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes, like, you want to feel loved and you want to feel valued.
Sorry.
No, you're totally good. Is that better?
I think so.
You want to feel loved, you want to feel valued, and you want to feel like God is with you. But then you have these circumstances that make it feel like he's not.
Yeah. And
you have these things like, whether it's a loss of a parent or a loss of a job or a loss of, any kind of stability or a loss of a marriage. And you're like, if I was following through with you and you were there for me and you're supposed to be with me, why did these things happen?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that is the contentious point for people, that it's hard to live by faith when you are saturated with disappointment.
Yeah.
And I like, we can kind of get into this a little bit. I would like to, because I kind of feel like this might hit somebody. But
cool. I
think when you live by the experiences of life and you allow those to dictate your disappointments, like, it will actually sink you further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it unravels you.
Yeah.
It will unravel your faith. It unravels, like, the truth of who you are. Kat, have you ever had an experience like that where you've chosen faith over disappointment? Or where you've been disappointed and you felt like, have you ever had that experience and had to walk out of that?
Yes. Well, I've had both. I've had where I've experienced extreme loss and did not choose faith. And then I've had where the world seems to be falling apart around me and I'm okay because I'm choosing a higher view. And that, when you were talking, that's what it made me think of, is like in the midst of a lot of hard things. Do you want to know the details of what's happening?
However you want to, to release
right
that.
now, where I'm at currently in life, there's just a lot going on. Both of my parents have pretty big health problems going on at the moment.
That happen simultaneously.
And they're not like just health problems. It's like mental health, and it's a lot of logistics that have to be figured out. It's a lot of what's going to happen, and having to make really big decisions as well, on top of homeschooling my daughter and my nephew and working full time and just normal life things, stepping into new roles, just lots of life things. And I sometimes I wonder if I'm like, am I compartmentalizing or am I really okay? But I really feel okay right now. But there wasn't, and for me, that has really come down to having a higher view, to remembering, like, I am seated with him in heaven. Like, this reality is not the real reality. And really having hope, and not just hope, but like belief that it's all going to be okay. And when I say okay, it's like, no matter the outcome, like, God is good, and I don't even know how to put this into words. I haven't had to put it into words. It seems small to say whether it's okay here or whether it's okay in heaven, it's going to be okay. Because in my person, in my mind, it's bigger than that. It just feels like this eternal perspective, for lack of a better phrase, is so much bigger and there's so much more going on. And like I'm seeing a ton of fruit coming out of this time for my own growth, for the redemption of our family relationships, for the time that we've lost with each other. I'm seeing growth for my sisters, both of them. I'm seeing so much fruit from this time that I can't even like be upset about it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not ideal. I don't love it. It's hard, but it's also okay. There's a lot of peace in it. And I think that peace comes from having the Lord's perspective of everything. And really trusting that he's good and that he's got my dad, he's got my mom, he's got my sister. Like he's got it.
You.
And he cares. Yeah, he's got me for sure. But he's got each of us. He's not just taking care of me. He cares about each of us individually and each of us as a family.
It's so good, man. It's so good because I love that. I love that like you're in the midst of it and you can actually be like, no, I'm stable because I'm on him. I'm on his foundation. And it's not ideal. There's a lot of unideal situations that are being played out, but it's because you're not looking for the situations to make you okay.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like you're not looking for these, if these circumstances were better, then I would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And I think that
it disarms everything. It disarms stress, panic, fear. It disarms fear to say, no, like I'm with the Lord in this, whatever, you know, and that's stability.
It's when I say I'm okay, my person is okay. But I also want people to know that like it is not just easy.
Yeah.
Being okay doesn't mean that it's easy. Doesn't mean that you're not tired or you're not going through stuff or you don't have to cry sometimes.
I mean, what? You were up for almost a full 48 hours?
Yeah.
2 nights ago?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that ain't a joke.
No.
Like, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's so, what you said about perspective is like, that's the rock you stand on, period. And the resolve that you have. I mean, we talk a lot about resolve, but like you have that. You have that resolve where it's like, it's the Lord and it's the Lord, period.
Yeah.
Like there is no other option. I've got no other way. And by God, watch my family come with me.
Yeah, and you're actively just in the midst of demonstrating it.
And what I love is that you've chosen to also function as the Lord has created you to function, even in the midst of all this chaos. Like you haven't allowed the chaos or the stresses of things pull you back. In fact, it's like catapulted you forward.
Yeah. It really has. And that's very different this time than it has been before in my life. Because usually I will isolate in the midst of hard stuff happening. But that's not happening this time. I feel more inspired and more like pumped to do things than I think I have in a while. And I think that's just the result of being with him all the time.
Yeah. It's inviting him into these circumstances. It's so
and
good.
It's almost like these circumstances, when you choose him in them, they are just a huge boost in growth and maturity. As opposed to if it didn't happen, you know, things may take a longer time, but it's almost like it's a catapult of like, bam, you like graduated this distance in this brief period of time, but it comes through choosing him in it.
No trudging, just catapulting.
Right,
You just get to jump
get over
ahead.
the mud, over the swamp, yeah. But it's these mass moments of graduation.
Yeah, it really is. We were talking about that, me and Marlia, the other day, about like there's so much beauty. Like that's the whole count it all joy, brethren, when you encounter various trials. Is that in James?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the joy is in just the growth that you see and the maturity that you see and all of the things. Like I can look at it from a bigger perspective and just see all these different things that God is doing that are all related to the circumstances that I'm in right now that would not have happened if these circumstances were not mine right now. And so there's so much growth in this journey. And it's just so beautiful.
I love that, man.
And it's like, and that comes with you, like your discipline, like the discipline and just pursuing him, that whole thing. It's like these moments, we're like built to shine in these moments.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what we do. So whenever these things come up and you're stable, it's like, okay, that's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Because that's not normal, really, yet. But
it's going to be.
That's reality. And then people see that.
And it sparks other people. Like it will spark. I think that if you see one person do it, it's like.
Makes it available.
Oh my gosh, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's that modeling thing I was talking to you about. And I was actually just listening yesterday to the message from Sunday because I wasn't in there. And Daniel talked about us being examples or something like that. But that's what Jesus did. That's the whole purpose, was like coming here and showing us what a whole life looks like and what's possible. And that's what we're supposed to do for others. And it's like, I was talking to Marlia about how with little kids, they learn so much more from observing you than they do from you telling them things.
Yeah.
And it's that immersion learning, that immersive learning thing. It's just being around you. They're going to start to look like you. They're going to start to believe that they can do what you can do. And so I don't know.
Or they take on your coping mechanisms and then they take out, like, it's like they're going to model after you.
Yeah.
It's just
good or bad.
Good or bad. They're going to. That's probably why Bexley be pushing people.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We
I was laying hands a lot.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
We impart capability.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. When you see somebody else do it, it's like, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And in Jesus, the stuff that he did, I think it's the point. He was like, hey,
that's
this
why
and more.
He modeled it.
Yeah.
That's why we have to
like,
see
you
him
can
face
do
to
this.
face. We just start to, there's no work in it. We just have to see him.
Right. Yeah.
It just happens naturally. That's that immersive.
Yeah, and I think it happens with kids. It happens with like people, because we were talking about this earlier, like people who come to Hoff, right? Not to just hype up our church, but also a little bit.
Yeah.
If you look at the people who have chosen to come and chosen to stay and chosen to invest and have relationships with people, every single person I know of is solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have solid ground. And if they don't, it's getting knocked on and they're getting opportunity to look at it.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's the Lord. I'm saying it's not our church. I'm saying it's the Lord. It is the Lord. But we're a body of people that choose to value him wholeheartedly above all else.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all change.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has changed.
Yeah.
Just from being there and being around, and we've all grown. I don't know anybody. I can honestly, in my mind, the people who have like actually committed themselves to walking in the light and having fellowship in the light, and connect to the Lord in their own private time.
Yeah,
I mean, really, you just see it.
Yeah.
Everybody's grown. Nobody's the same, even that they were a year ago.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
But
that's really awesome.
It's true.
But that's what it is. It's like, you can choose disappointment. You can choose to live on a lesser domain that will cause you to unravel, that will cause you to be tossed to and fro through the waves. Like, you can either be tossed by the waves or you can ride the wave. I think those are the two options.
Yeah.
And riding the wave is just like, you just take it as it flows, but you know that you're on a stable surfboard and that it's not going to throw you off.
Yeah.
Like you're riding on him. So.
It really looks like leaning into it.
Yeah.
In a practical sense.
Elaborate. What do you mean by leaning in? I like our language, but I also like expanding our language.
Yeah, no, I do too. Well, because I was just thinking about what you're saying, and I'm just thinking about like, how do you practically explain that to somebody, about riding the wave, or about, what was it that you said before that? There was something else you said. Anyway, just going through it, sometimes it's hard to recognize what's happening at the time. Sometimes it's hard to recognize like that you are going through it, or that you do need to lean in. And I think any time that you don't feel peace is a good indicator that it's time to lean in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good indicator. And when I say lean in, I mean like you don't have to work at anything. But just have to be with the Lord.
You have to acknowledge
You
it.
have to acknowledge it, acknowledge that there's not peace, and be with the Lord and let him deal with things or whatever. Let him. What is the language I'm trying to say? What am I trying to say?
One thing that I do, just a practical thing that I do when I'm feeling that, and I feel I like to use the word dysregulated.
Yeah.
Right. So I can kind of feel that cortisol's pumping through my body. It feels like, you can call it anxiety. You can call it like butterflies in your stomach. I get a weird sensation running through like my sternum. I will go outside and I put my feet in the earth and I take a big breath and literally like, and then I literally start, this isn't religious. Like, you can kind of get in a religious spin, but I legitimately will take a deep breath and I will thank the Lord.
Yeah.
And when I thank the Lord, and I will choose to focus my thoughts on the things that he's actually doing around me. And even if it's one thing, like if I'm stuck on one thing that day, I'll stay on one thing. But it's like to me, to lean in is to reposture your heart.
Yeah.
And to reposture your brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Into, no, the Lord is so good. I don't feel this way, but by God, I'm going to stay on that until I do.
Yeah.
Because your body is actually subject to your spirit.
Yeah.
Your spirit's not subject to your body. And so I think there's an easy way to be tossed to and fro is that I feel all of these emotions and then they are going to dictate my actions or they're going to dictate my responses. But to be led by the Spirit of God, those are the sons of God. They will surrender their body and their mind to the Spirit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that looks like thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think that looks like gratitude. I think that looks like taking a deep breath and clearing your mind.
Yeah.
Just getting back into alignment with the Lord.
Yeah.
I think even...
I'm saying there's a plethora of things.
And also to lean in, to me, it's like when things do come up, it's exciting, I think, of like...
That's that perspective shift.
Let's do this. You and I, let's go into this and let's see what's at the end of it. Facing it almost voluntarily like, oh yeah, there's more to be had. The bigger, whatever it looks like, the bigger the wave, nastier the wave, it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's conquer this thing.
Why not?
And let's take the spoils from it and share it. I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's like a boldness, like a courage, like, let's do this together. You've pulled through. Yeah.
It's like a Braveheart moment.
Well, yeah. A mindset that I get into a lot that helps me to just change from victim mentality is to think of it like a battle, because it is. Our battle is not against flesh and blood, right? And so when I get into like a warrior mindset, I grew up, my dad read me all the Tolkien books, all the Narnia books, and he would make up these grand adventurous stories.
That's cool.
Some of which I still remember to this day. We had the Adventures of Bart, was this guy's name, and he told me Bart went on all kinds of adventures. But I grew up with this big adventurous experience, like just believing in adventure and in conquering things, essentially. Like there's always this big battle that happens and then we win. And I think that being able to change my mindset into one of like the gates of hell will not prevail kind of a thing. Like we are on the offense and I'm not going to let I guess it just helps me to get into that mindset of like, I'm not going to let anything stop me or distract me. Like, this is serious. This is beyond just what I feel right now. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And when I say big deal, I just mean like, it's bigger than just me in this moment and the way that I feel right now.
Yeah. And partnering with that. Yeah. And it is basically believing it and partnering with it in the moment, in the experience. And that's what overtakes it.
Yeah.
Huh.
But that's.
I freaking love that you said that. So that phrase, the gates of hell will not prevail, came to me audibly back in like August. And it was a pretty significant day. I didn't know this. Like I woke up to it, right? As like I was waking up, I heard that phrase, like the gates of hell will not prevail. And it was somebody that was chanting it to me. Well, that day, 2 people we know had a heart attack. And 3 people I knew had a heart attack and one of them died that day. Well, yeah, no, it was. Because I found all this out a day later. But I have felt that since April, like having that as like your mantra.
Yeah.
Like that is the thing that you chant around if you're facing anything, if you're facing what looks like a crisis, or if it looks like something feeling unstable or the world's going to crap and or whatever, you know, like you can take that bait or you can stand and actually declare that as like the true warrior kings and queens that we really are.
Yeah.
We have so much authority, so much power. And when we step into that, like you gain a different level of confidence when you think about it that way too. But that confidence and that authority, like it just shifts everything.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
I
Everything
love that
you
said,
come up against, you see it differently.
Yeah.
Well, you said that about the warrior mind, and that like zung with me. I was like, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
That like I have not always said that or like put language to that, but that's the mind I kick into. Like
there's like a thankful adventureness to it as well.
That's
in it. And it's
is.
like this, you can feel it. Yeah.
It like pumps you up where I'm like, I can freaking take over the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it's when we choose that in those moments, like that is subduing the earth. That is actively taking ground.
Yeah.
When you choose that in those moments.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's what it looks like of not letting disappointment rock your boat.
Yeah.
It's like, no, take this thing because you cannot be disappointed.
Yeah.
The gate of hell will not prevail on your life.
Yeah.
So screw it. Like
that's right.
I mean that nicely, but
right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what just happened. Like if something catastrophic happened, right? Say you did lose a parent.
Yeah.
Or something like shocking that you're just like, that was heavy and that hurts.
Yeah.
Like acknowledge the pain. Don't ignore the pain. Acknowledge what it is, but also realize that the Lord will work everything out for your good.
Yeah.
And so you can stay in the charge mode. You can stay in the zealous, I will be the one that brings heaven to earth.
Yeah.
I will be the one that will plant the heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this thing can't stay.
Right.
Yeah.
And he even brings in understanding. Like if somebody does die, he brings in the understanding of like where they are and like they're not dead. You know,
Death
he brings
is not
that
even a thing,
understanding,
dude.
and
that's that higher view.
He builds upon the reality of the higher view. Yeah. Yeah.
So that just happened. I'm going to get back to something you said earlier, but that just happened. I talked to my grandmother and her first cousin, they're really close. She just passed away like less than a week ago. And she's been like super weepy about it. And, you know, they kind of kick into their religious grid of like, well, you know, she's with Jesus now. And I think there's also the pain of like, they realize they're about to cross over. And I think there's like unease about that.
Yeah.
Because they love the Lord, but they're very religious.
Yeah.
But I told her, and you could actually sense it. I said, what a graduation.
Yeah.
What a promotion she just received. And it was like something clicked for her. And I'm like, that's how everybody should view death.
Yeah.
This big air quotes, dude.
Right.
Like, we're getting promoted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're stepping out of this flesh, it's because the promotion, like the ultimate graduation just happened.
Yeah.
But anyways, you said something earlier. Golly, I knew I was going to forget it. I wanted to go back to it because it was so good. Dang.
There's no rush. You can.
No, I do that awkward long pauses. It bothers me.
I can cut out pauses.
I don't know. Could you just repeat everything you said earlier?
So start over.
Yeah, let's scratch it.
Do you know what it was pertaining to?
Oh,
What general topic?
no, but I'm going to jump a question then. I want you to go into, like, what is your favorite way to engage the Lord?
Oh, it's getting words. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it like, do you like, like dreams or visions or
worship or
tribal dancing or,
yeah.
Me doing all my tribal dancing.
What's your vibe?
I'd say dreams, and then I really like getting prophetic words for people.
Do you feel like that's what causes you to come the most alive? What causes you to come alive the most?
Well, I like talking about the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like talking about his person. And I think that because I've just had so much experience with the Lord and so much growth, I just want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Because guess what God can do?
Mm-hmm.
That really makes me come up. And I really like, one thing that I really enjoy doing is listening to people and seeing where like a misperception of God is, and then inserting truth, essentially. Like, I know that this is what it looks like to you, but this is who God really is, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that makes me come alive because that was just like the crux of so much of my own growth and change.
Mm.
I love teaching. I love working with kids.
Yeah, you're kind of a bomb at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like all of it.
Yeah, dude, you are so flippin' good at articulating things. Like the way you talk, I'm like, golly, dude, I need to learn words like you. But
I was homeschooled.
That must be it.
So many jokes.
I had to stop myself right there.
Thanks.
It wasn't towards you.
I know.
But you're so good at that. Like actually replacing truths, and even just relationally, you were so good of just like, yeah, I could see that, but also it's this.
Yeah.
Like you point people right back to truth so well, and you don't sound like a jerk when you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
When you have awkward or hard conversations, you can kind of be abrasive or whatever, but the way that you speak is just, I highly admire it.
Well, thank you so much.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And the pictures you see, man, the visions that you get.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we've talked about this before. I'm not over here like a movie mind, right? That's what I'm going to call these. I'm like a word mind. You give me words. You are like a freaking movie mind.
I get full on short films.
Also, y'all are all creative. This is what it is. Y'all are so artistic in your minds, like the two of you.
Yeah.
I decided, because Zach is too.
Mm-hmm.
Zach is extremely artistic, and he sees things very movie-like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the difference. I've been on this kick.
But we also talked about I'm also very...
Kat, you are a rare bird, but...
Yeah.
I heard those words on Wednesday night, and I was like, I never hear words. I got to say these.
Yeah, well,
because I usually see full-on videos play out.
Yeah, well, you're creative.
Films.
You got a movie mind, but you're also like organized. Like you have this strength of,
she's the
I guess, like
perfect
structure
blend of both.
and like stability. which is not normal for like movie minds or creative
I'm
people.
right and left brained for sure. And it's
But
a little
strongly.
bit confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
You do realize she's like the best artist that has probably ever come into Tyler.
Yeah.
No, not into Tyler.
Listen, I still have a picture that you just randomly decided to paint me for my birthday on a little card.
I've never seen this.
Yo, it's the dopest lion I've ever seen, like ever laid my eyes upon. I'm telling you.
I don't even remember what it looks like. I remember doing it.
Oh, the vibrant colors in it and the detail of it. I was like, and you were like, yeah, I just threw it together. I'm like, you flipping threw that together? That would take me 7 years with somebody teaching me. Yeah,
Well,
it's.
I always joke, I do like one piece of art a year.
Mm.
And usually it's for somebody. I mean, it's always for somebody else. But I express myself creatively in other ways. But as far as like producing a piece of art is usually about one a year.
Golly. Well, you should do more because it's. I don't know, James. She could give you a run for your money, and you're pretty high. You're pretty high up there, dude.
It's not a competition.
It's not a competition
no,
at all.
but
I
a little
think
bit.
like whenever you paint stuff, like just throwing it together, I don't know. A lot of people, I don't know.
Everything's a little bit
But
of a competition.
that's what's so cool about it too. A lot of people that have structure and like that kind of stuff have to analyze it, like a painting or something. Like, okay, holy crap, that's amazing.
Thanks.
That is good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I painted
That's
that for
bet-
my friend's son's nursery.
Wow.
Let me see. Let me see.
Beautiful.
This is the one that I just showed him.
Why don't you do more of that?
Yeah, man.
Time.
Well, make some money off of it.
Yeah, for real. I
Seriously.
would buy it. I would buy that stuff in a heartbeat.
That, yeah.
Thanks.
And even the colors of that, like the lighting.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dude.
here's one I did.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Nobody else can see this.
Let me see.
Sorry.
Let me see.
Okay. Sorry. I'm showing you pictures.
You know what?
Nobody can see these.
The first one,
Do
is
you
that
know what
first
we're
one
gonna
like
do?
watercolor?
I want you to send me these, and I'm gonna put it on our Instagram.
Yeah.
Because people need to see these.
Yeah.
I can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the lion. I gotta find the. I
want
gotta
to see
find
the
the
lion.
card. Listen.
I'll paint you one too.
Yeah.
It'll be my piece of art.
I
Print
told-
some stuff and sell it.
20
I
Make
told
some
Kat
money.
to come to the artist meetup
Yeah.
paint night.
Yes.
Yes. You
Okay.
need to though.
I will. Maybe.
It's just so good,
That
dude.
is good.
But sorry, I kept interrupting you. I was joking about it being a competition, but
I know. I know you were.
because I still think you're a freaking incredible artist too. So, but no, Kat is like the most organized,
Yeah.
the most like structured person, and then also the most creative.
Yeah.
Like all creatives should learn from Kat of how to be organized.
Yeah. No, that's for
That's not
real.
normal for creatives.
For real, it's
I
not.
know, but it's something that they should grow in.
And I think that's another thing is that it is possible to grow in that.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
And you're evidence that it's reality. So
you can do it.
yeah.
You don't have to be flaky.
Right.
That's true.
You don't have to be a flaky, tortured artist.
Tortured soul.
Yeah.
I think it's just hard for people, like creative people. I think it's hard to do both because it's like a whole different way of thinking for a
Mhm.
lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're so passionate about art, you spend your thought process and everything is so devoted to that it feels like it takes up a lot of space to also learn how to be organized when it's so not against, but it's so
Unfamiliar.
Kind
I
of
was going to
counter.
say antithetical,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
unfamiliar works too.
And she's got big
Antithetical.
words.
Word of the week.
Word
I
of
think
the week.
that's a word.
It
Somebody
is.
look it up.
That is a
'cause
word.
I think it is.
Where's the dictionary at?
It's like the antithesis.
Yes.
It's the opposite of
Tell
what
me again what that word is.
antithetical.
Yeah, that's a word.
Homeschool.
I should have been homeschooled. Look at
Dang.
that. Wow. Being in diametrical opposition.
Hey, I used
That's
it
it.
correctly too.
A synonym is opposite. Pertaining to antithesis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more impressed now.
Yeah.
Because I used it correctly.
No, just because it's a big word.
It is a big word.
Yeah.
Also, I spelled it correctly.
I'm
Golly.
impressed. Good job.
It's a
So
win for me.
So basically, I think I'm like playing. I'm like trying to defend the artists. Like, yes, I do think you can grow there, and you should grow there. But it's also feels differently for people that are more geared that way than it does for, like for me, I've always kind of been organized. Like, I think I really am right and left brained. I don't think I necessarily had to develop my ability to be organized. When I was a kid, I had more fun setting up, like, so we couldn't afford a regular Barbie dream house kind of a thing. So I would take other toys that I had and pretend that they were pieces of the house, and I would set up and organize a Barbie house, quote unquote, and then not play with it. Like, it was fun for me to set it up and organize it.
Would you like admire it? Or like kind
for
of
a little while.
What, rest in the finished work, I guess? Just
rest in the finished. And it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think for people that are very right-brained or very left-brained, like, it takes a little bit more work to do it. You got some intentionality.
Yeah, definitely practice.
But it's worth it.
That childhood stuff is fascinating to me. Like that, of building it out of, that's fascinating. I noticed things with Kyla that I used to do, and I wonder why, kind of. I used to like my action figures. I would get like if I had Star Wars, I would lay them all out. I would usually put them in an order of like hierarchy, like Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, the Emperor. Like I would line them out, and then I would just like sit back and look
at who's the most powerful.
At the proportion, who's the most powerful, and like, I don't know. In my mind, like, hey, what if this person fought this person? And I don't know why, but I would line them all up. And I caught Kyla doing that with her like dolls and stuff. She'll like line them all out, and she'll like make like designs with them, and just different things. And I'm just like, what is going on in there?
That's hysterical. That's the family tree.
I also have a daughter named Kyla.
Yeah,
and she's an artist, and she's way better than I was at her age.
Really?
That's cool.
She's really, really good.
She really does have such a creative mind too. Like
she's not a right and left brain person.
No,
she's creative 100%.
All the way.
But I love it. It's beautiful.
When I see her and Kyla playing, I always feel like she just feels so responsible and just, I don't know, very good example. And like, when I've seen her like playing with Kyla and stuff, she like levels with her. It's really sweet.
You know what's really interesting about that? I have had a really hard time for a while because she's very much not like me. Like I said, she's very creative, and there's a lot of like practical things that she's growing in her responsibility with. But I also know that I was very much a people pleaser, and I was very much like, I have to do good, to be loved. And I realized recently that like, she's very responsible. She's very wise. But it's not to please anyone. It's just like her natural being.
Who she is.
Not to, like, the things that she does well, it's just part of who she is, and it's not for the purpose of being good. And I realized, like, it took me a little while to recognize that was what the difference was and why I was having a hard time, because it was different than what I had done. I would constantly be doing things to be accepted, but that's not how she does things. She's just kind of part of her.
She's inherently good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's really cool.
That's pure though.
Yeah.
It makes me very proud.
Yeah.
Means I modeled something right.
So true.
But
yeah. That's something too, I've noticed. You saying that, and just some of the other kids, just their demeanor and how inherently good they are, but how pure, and I don't know what the word is, but I was like, I've had this feeling recently of like, everybody says like this generation that's growing up is going to destroy the world or whatever, but I'm like, no, these kids, these are some solid people. They really
They're
are.
about to revolutionize.
Yeah, but they really are, and I've had that realization like reinforced in me of like, no, they are good. And like even for Kyle and stuff, I'm like, I feel she's safe, like she's good. There are good people, and it's given me peace about it. I've never really had an issue with it, but it's been reinforced like, no, it's good.
I think that's just something that's so encouraging about us being healed and made whole, that like they're getting a head start that we didn't have.
Exponential head start.
I think that's why it's so important for you. Like, you're not only getting healed. I know we said this from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting healed for it to go backwards.
All the way, yeah.
Like backwards, upside down, sideways. Like they're taking it.
Expansion.
The Willy Wonka elevator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I had a chance to kind of counter some stuff. It was a direct thing that happened to me when I was a kid. I'll sum it up. When I was very young, younger than Kyla is now, I didn't have like Nickelodeon, like TV channels and stuff, but I had some VHS tapes. And Star Wars, Batman, and then some like old cartoons from like the 40s, like really old. And a lot of those old movies were like propaganda for like World War II. So there was like swastikas, Daffy Ducks fighting the Nazis. And I had no clue what it was. Anyways, I started drawing like swastikas. Everything that I was seeing on these movies, I would draw them everywhere. I didn't know what it meant. And what mom like saw it one day and was like, almost panicked about it and was like, no, like this is not good. And it kind of shut me down. I'm not trying to throw mom under the, anyways, the other night
it was an experience.
Yeah, it was an experience. But I was like, oh, I'm not drawing anything ever again off these cartoons because it has the potential to be very, very bad. Well, two nights ago, I was tucking Kyla in and she recites something. And I'm like, whoa, where did you hear that from? And I was like, was it from this? She's been watching this movie that's for kids. And I was like, did you get it from that movie? And then she recited a little bit more and it was just not good. And I was like, okay. And I caught myself because it did kind of shock me a little bit. And I was almost like, oh, you're not watching that ever again. You're not watching this. We're about to lock down the TV. But I caught myself in it because I remembered that shame feeling of like, I don't even know what I did, you know? But I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, and I just kind of talked to her about it. And I was like, well, we do have power, but it's not like that. And I was like, some of that stuff is not, it's not good. You know, I explained it to her and I was like, you didn't know though. I said, that stuff is appealing and it's cool, you know? Anyways, I think I handled it decently, but it was a chance to, like the exponential growth and the things that we're these examples for them. And being aware of those things, we can foster their growth and amplify that growth, you know, in them. And that's even the family tree thing.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, redeeming that.
Is Kyla 8?
Yes.
It was around then that I started having a lot more conversations with my Kyla. Where you just kind of, because they're growing up and you can have more conversations with them. But you start catching yourself with like, wait, I'm doing the opposite of what. So, I mean, even that kind of is rewiring your brain.
Yeah.
Because you realize you kind of respond initially.
Yeah.
Sometimes you respond in your old self, but you can always catch it.
Yes.
Nope, I'm not going to respond with shame.
It's like, what's the fruit punishment of this? Yeah.
But I love that too. Even if you did screw up and you responded how you had responded.
Yeah.
You can come back.
You come back. And I think it would look different if you had had a memory replaced where your mom acknowledged like, hey, I didn't handle that great.
Yeah.
You know, I think it would have dissolved the shame.
Right.
Right. So it's like, even if
it's redeemable.
Everything's redeemable. And even if you haven't handled things in the perfect manner or whatever, acknowledging that with your kid.
Yeah.
Because if you should be more careful about what you say to your kid than you do to an adult. I know that sounds silly, but in my mind, it's like you honor them so much more.
Yeah.
Because they're so impressionable.
Yeah.
I'm saying your own. But I think if you acknowledge it, it can recalibrate stuff.
Yeah.
It does.
And it's like, I think as parents, you can miss that very quickly by just like dismissing it.
Yeah.
And not realizing like, yo, you actually have mad weight with your kid. You want to have influence. Go look at, like, you've got a kid there.
I know it.
Well, and even that is part of the modeling. Like, you're showing them that it's okay
to mess up.
Vulnerable. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to come back and say, hey, I messed up. And it's okay to say, like, ask questions. How did this make you feel? And it just, all of it is part of
cultivating relationship.
In that moment too, I had that. I was like, I so much value. I want her to approach me about anything. I want the conversation to be 100% open.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever want her to think she has to hide from me anything, no matter how, whatever however dark it is, So in that, I remember feeling that like, no, I value this communication so much. I don't want to slime it with shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it looks like to seek first the kingdom.
Yeah.
That's what it is, like the Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom and all these things are added to you.
Mm-hmm.
What you did was you valued relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's a big key.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like, and then you won't go and run down the rabbit trail.
Right.
Most people only respond out of their own triggers,
Mm-hmm.
out of their own trauma. And if we live with enough awareness, we can actually pinpoint those things.
Yeah.
To where they don't have like a replicated effect.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all got anything else?
Well, Kat, I was just going to tell you, I saw you. I mean, you're just like this pillar of stability.
Yeah.
Wherever you go. And I saw it as a literal picture, but I saw like other pillars coming up around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the people around you are destined to grow by seeing you, by your demonstration of it.
Thank you.
And you really are that. I mean, every time you're in group, you're on the teams, wherever you're at, it's like stability.
Mm-hmm.
And you're solid. You're not flaky at all. And it's,
Well, thanks.
enjoy having you around. It's definitely reinforcement. Your massive value.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I greatly appreciate your friendship.
Same. No, that's definitely something I've asked the Lord for. Like, I want to be a safe place. I want to be solid kind of thing.
I'll ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
Because you is it.
Yep.
You did it.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to leave with our listeners? Any final words?
You give a shout out to somebody or it's a free game.
I'm good.
All right.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Loves you. All right. We'll see y'all next time.